We're going to start with Proposition 16, State Measure 16, which allows diversity as a factor in public employment, education, and contracting decisions. So the short summary is, permits government decision-making policies to consider race, sex, color, ethnicity, or national origin in order to address diversity by repealing constitutional provision prohibiting such policies. The fiscal impact is no direct fiscal impact on the state or local entities. That's no money out of the taxpayers' dollars. The effect of the measure depend on the future choices of the state and the local government entities and are highly uncertain. So what your yes vote means. A yes vote on this means that the state and local entities could consider race, sex, color, ethnicity, and national origin in public education, public employment, and public contracting to the extent under the federal law. In other words, this brings back affirmative action. It repeals Proposition 209, and I'll get into that a little bit in a moment. A no vote means that this will, the current ban on the consideration of race, sex, color, ethnicity, and national origin in public education, public employment, and public contracting would remain in effect. So when we go to our job applications and we see that little blurb that says, we do not discriminate against color, gender, sex, sexual orientation, all those other little things, but then you actually look at the numbers, at job demographics, and we still see that 80% of the job sectors within a C-suite, within a corporate suite, are still led by white males. We realize that there is a problem, that there is discrimination that is happening. And so that is why this measure is on the ballot this time. So we want to relook at if we should actually consider diversity when we are actually employing people, when we are actually admitting folks into schools and all that other good jazz. So ladies, let me hear your thoughts.
When we were reviewing it together, she made a really good point in if there, with a yes vote and repealing the requirements of having an Asian male, an Asian female, a black male, maybe a foreigner or an immigrant of some sort on there. If one of your boxes is already checked, then there is no consideration for you in that job, no matter how qualified you are, because they are no longer looking for the Black woman that they need. They're looking for the Asian male that they need. And I was really concerned with that because to me, yes, I want diversity, but if it means limiting still the amount of positions per color, per gender, then it's still a level of discrimination, and it's not as open to any qualified person that it would be with the overall blanket of we do not discriminate because of these reasons.
Chelsea, what were we going to say?
Basically, along the same lines, that was my main concern when I first read it. But then when I dove a little deeper after I had spoken to Ashley, I realized that there wasn't any guidelines that I could find that they were going to set in place that would cause that to be such a large issue. But I think that for us it's a definite yes for me, simply because that needs to stay in place. Just that those blanket statements of we need diversity, I think that's important more than worrying about the small little details that could possibly happen. And like it says, it's uncertain what could actually be going on at the end of it, but to repeal it entirely would be completely horrible, in my opinion.
Well, what we're repealing is 209. So let me just go ahead and what Proposition 209 is. Affirmative action came into place so that we could hire people of color and women, white women. Okay, so this includes literally everybody except for white men. Okay, everybody else, color, sex, creed, whatever, was included within affirmative action, because literally literally more than 80% of, which is what the current numbers are, more than 80% of job sectors were being controlled and run by white males, right? And so they came up with affirmative action. Well, in 1996, they wanted to repeal affirmative action. They wanted to get rid of it. Why? Because a white man who was going to a university up in Northern California said, hey, you guys are letting in Black people and you guys are letting in white women, and I don't have the opportunity to get into this university. You guys are discriminating against me. They got rid of affirmative action to then say, okay, well, we aren't going to discriminate. And so when you read your job, little tiny fine print, it says we don't discriminate against people of color, women, minorities, your sex, your orientation, all that other stuff. But the reality is that we still see discrimination within the workforce. We still see discrimination within our school systems. We still see discrimination within the public sector of jobs. And so how do we then consider diversity? And so the question is, should we bring back affirmative action, in short, and say but with provisions to say, we're making it a more equal place for all. That is really what is that is the question on the ballot, is do we want a more equal place? Do we want a more diverse place? Do we want to force employers to say, you can't just have 90% white males at your job. You need another voice. You need white women. You need Black women. You need Asian women. You need trans Asian people. You need trans Latinos. You need all these other kinds of people to make your workplace a better place. That is the question.
Got it.
With that, how do we feel?
With that, I would definitely, without a doubt, say yes. Absolutely. And I've experienced that in many of the jobs that I've gone into, that I either am the only Black woman, or there's one Black woman, which is me, and there's one Black male in the entire company. And we're like a dying breed. So I don't think that the certain employers, I can look them in the eyes and know that they didn't do it on purpose. But is there something that's systematic that's going on? They're just really not even realizing it. So yeah, definite yes. Thank you for clarifying that, because me and Ashley went down a rabbit hole and we were thinking about a completely different side of what was actually going on. So thank you.
Well, what you were saying, what is something that would come up in other people's mind? It's like, well, if they're being forced to pick a diversity and they've met their diversity quota, the whole idea of a diversity quota is what they're doing right now. It's like, oh, we got our one Black woman in our office, so now we don't need any more. They're literally doing that right now. How can we stop that? And this is a way to stop that. That is what this is saying. And so it is a good point, but you know, what's happening now isn't being effective. So we have to hold them accountable, have diversity within our workforce, have diversity within our school systems, within college administration, all, and within public sector jobs. It's imperative to have a more reflective job world that we see within our own world, within our own community.
Absolutely.
Heather, Michelle, do you have thoughts?
Yeah, I say yes. I vote yes. For all the reasons that you said, I don't think I can say it any better.
Yep. I agree. I think it's worth, just making sure that everyone's clear that this only affects government institutions. This is not going to affect your corporate, jobs or hiring or other, private employers. But I think, culture starts somewhere, and, effecting this change in our government is a good start towards rebalancing our norms. So yeah, absolutely. It's not a be all end all, but this is a step back on track. We've been off it for 30 years now, and what progress have we seen? So there you go.
Thank you, Heather. I agree.
For that 30 year, just to make sure y'all are clear on that. Thank you for that, Heather.